Hey, Toni, thanks so much for being on the Be Love, Do Good podcast. We've been talking before this. She's one of my favorites because it's just so easy and fun to talk to. I feel like we're just like in a slumber party talking
All right, summer party.
talking of the day. Toni, if you don't know Toni, she is an author. She is a podcaster. She is a mama. She is just, I hate using the phrase like boss lady because it's so cliche, but like honestly, you are. You
I'm
are
okay with it.
all the
I'll
things.
receive
And
that.
let's just talk
I'll receive
about,
it.
because I do follow you on Instagram. Let's just talk a little bit about what is happening with this fitness regimen, because
I knew you were going to say it.
I'm like, what is happening? Because I love, yes,
Sun's
girl.
out, guns out.
Okay, so you
Okay?
posted I've loved CrossFit for years, and I was an athlete in college. It's
Yes.
the only thing that has made me feel like an athlete again. And so when you posted the pull-ups, I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, you did," because that's so hard. I used to train. I used to be a fitness trainer back in
You get
the
it.
day,
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
was
yeah.
the hardest thing for women. Like, if you didn't do it growing up, it was so
You
hard.
just couldn't.
So, okay, let's just talk about that first of all. What is happening in the fitness regimen right now?
What's going on? So here's the deal, family. I go to a gym called Burn Boot Camp. It's amazing for me for so many reasons because I travel a lot to different cities and states, and they're all over the nation, and I get to go bop around to the different ones, and it's great. What has been precious is that the reason why I joined it is because of one of my friends, Belinda. Me and my kids moved to a brand new city back in the fall. I processed through divorce. It was crazy. It was a public divorce, lots of betrayal, lots of lies. It was just nasty. And I just had gotten really sickly. So I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. I was doing the best that I possibly could. I took time off stage to process through everything that I had discovered about my ex-husband, and I just wasn't well. And I remember my friend Belinda saying, "Hey babes, like we gotta get yourself back together again here, sweet girl." And I was going to counseling, right? Like mentally and emotionally I was doing pretty good, but physically I wasn't. And so I remember going to my first class at Burn Boot Camp, and the owner, Montela, she came up to me and she was like, "Hey, girl, good job in your first class." I was like, "Great." I threw up. And great, great, great. She said, "Okay, so if you can, like, tell me, like, what are some of your fitness goals?" And I said, with tears in my eyes, and this woman does not even know me, I said, "I really am just trying to be alive for my kids."
Mm.
And that is interesting because I just had another focus meeting, which is what for nutrition, and it kind of keeps track of how you're doing, and they asked me what my goals were, and I was like, "Consistency." I don't wanna ever not work out. Like, I love it so much,
Yeah.
it's like, it's driving me, and so, while I am physically the hottest I've ever been in my life, okay, I just am. I mean, there are times there's every day, almost every day, I wake up and I check myself out in my mirror in my room,
I
and
love
I just
it.
wanna be honest
Because
about that.
you are wearing some cute little,
I'm a
like,
hottie.
monotone
Oh, yeah.
Lululemon, or what's your choice
Oh, I'm
of?
really going for all of them. Old Navy,
Okay, okay, okay.
Fabletics,
Yeah,
Target. I mean, I'm
all
in,
of it.
okay? I
Amazon,
got
yeah,
all the outfits.
yeah, yeah.
And while I am physically the hottest I've ever been, I am so strong mentally and emotionally, and not the fake kind of strong where you mask things, but like I really could face hard things because I have just been treating my body physically right. And it has impacted my emotions and my mental state in the best of ways. And I invite all my friends and I make them come and die at the gym with me. And it is amazing. And so I actually have a group text called Burn Baddies.
Yeah,
That's right. So it's these girls from the gym, and every month we go out together and we're just so cute and we're bopping around, and it's the best. And so it's changed my life, and I will never stop. I don't think
I
I
love
will.
it. Sometimes, honestly, that is the one thing you can control when your life is out of control.
Yep,
I have felt that before, like, in a
that's
season
good.
of grief and anxiety, the one thing that I
Yeah,
can control is getting up even though I don't want to and working
right.
out, and, like, lifting some of that heavy weight, or
Ooh,
doing
I
a pull
love it.
up or whatever
Yeah,
makes you literally walk out of the gym and go, Okay, I can do the next hard thing," which is
I'm not kidding. It
feels
really does.
insurmountable, but for some reason, after those endorphins, I mean, you got a bunch of research and science and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dopamine's flowing in.
but
Yeah, all the things.
personally, you and I have felt that. Yeah,
Oh, 100. I remember there were times where I walked in and I had snot nose cried the entire way to the gym.
for sure.
I had to sit in the back because I would have to turn around and face the wall to just let a few
Mhm.
tears out,
Yes.
and I would just walk out feeling like, "We really grieved well today,
Mhm,
my girl.
mhm,
We
mhm.
grieved well today."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and when you're
it
going
saved me.
through that much pain with other people, physically pain,
Yeah.
like when you're in
Yeah.
a class that you're no one
Actual death.
cares. They don't know if it's sweat or tears or
Nobody even knows,
no
but
one
we're all
even knows.
here.
Yeah,
Maybe the workout made me cry,
yeah, you never know.
but it was amazing.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so we talked a little bit beforehand. One of the things that you said is, "I've never been so just naked in front of people emotionally." And you kinda talked a little bit
Yeah,
about how you went through some stuff last year, but it wasn't private. It happened to be public, which is a whole 'nother set of
yeah.
trauma. Do you wanna share a little bit about that?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I'd love to. You know, I remember the date, I'll never forget, September 19th. It was a Tuesday. I was in, Nashville, Tennessee, filming with TBN, and what's crazy is I had some of my dearest, closest friends with me. I'm in a group therapy group called a confessional community, and we meet every single month for 3 hours, and we talk about our griefs and our longings, and we confess all our stuff because that's what we have to do as leaders. We gotta be able to confess. And I was with 2 of my closest friends in my confessional community that I've been walking through life with, and I was in my hotel and I got a call and it changed my life forever. It was one of the most devastating calls I ever gotten, about my ex-husband, discovering all this betrayal and all these years and years and years of lies. And I remember calling my 2 friends that were there, Jamie and Jessica, and I was like, "I need you guys, like, right now." And I ran to them and I told them everything,
Mm,
that what had happened then, what had happened years ago. I mean, all the things. And I remember Jamie holding me in the hallway of the hotel, and I just kept saying, "I have to leave, right? Like the marriage is no longer God honoring. I have to
mhm,
leave, right?" And I remember her saying to me 2 things. She was like, "I think you need to call Lisa Turkhurst, okay?
yeah,
And I think you need to talk to her and see how she kind of navigated this. And I think it'd be really great if you talk to your counselor too and really took some time to pray." And I think that was one of the, I won't say first times, but one of the most pivotal moments of this reality that we just cannot heal alone.
mm,
Because in my deepest moment of despair, realizing that my marriage had to be over, that it just could not be repaired. It was just too many times. Um, I had a person that deeply loved me and
mhm,
cared for me and my children, and I had her look at me in the eye and point me to Jesus and therapy.
mhm, yeah,
And what's crazy and beautiful is that I forgotten that an hour after I found out, I had a counseling session already scheduled with my counselor, which is just a God wink
yeah,
for sure. But I mean, I'm a leader, you know. We're all leaders in our own right, but I've got a public platform with hundreds of thousands of followers, and all of this and my divorce was all public. And the one thing that I started thinking about was I could really just hide. I got off of social media. I took time away from preaching for 3 months. I could just like slip into the abyss, come back like
mhm,
nothing's happened, but I don't know. I just felt like the Lord was leading me to grieve publicly.
mm,
And there are so many freaking details and things. I mean, I'm tempering my words right now that I could share with the public that would just make some people throw up in their mouth.
mhm,
But so there's wisdom in that, but
mhm,
I just feel really called to be a leader that says this life is not perfect.
mhm,
It's just not. And God is not playing favorites. There is no popularity competition. I have no more access to God than anyone else. It doesn't matter how seminary degree, it doesn't matter. And I just think this was such a beautiful opportunity to make God bigger. Because when people look at me and they see me and my little Teletubby self bopping around and all the things that I get to do in the states and the countries I get to visit, they could just easily be like, look, oh my gosh, like she's God's favorite, okay? But the truth is that makes God so small that he
mhm,
would choose a type of person to love and to redeem and to heal. And instead, I'm saying, no, look at how jacked up this is. It's just horrific.
mhm,
And if I can still wake up in the morning and choose life, and God can redeem my story, He can do it for anybody.
yeah,
So that's what I've been doing over the last couple months is just being emotionally and mentally naked
Mm.
on the social medias and such. And it's been hard, but it's been holy for sure.
Well, and I'm sure that you are speaking to so many who say me too. They just might not be in a
Mhm.
public platform, or they maybe have
Yeah,
never told a friend, even with some of the things that you dealt with, like maybe you told your friends all of it
yeah,
finally. You
right.
finally got it all out. And
100%.
you're no stranger to trauma, and you've been through,
Yeah.
history before even this. Tell me how, when you've had some of the worst things happen to you, how do
Mm.
you get up in the morning and believe in a good God?
Oh, this is I love this question because I'm at a point in my life now where my faith is so resilient and mature that I know dang well the God of all creation who intended us to be frolicking around butt naked in the middle of gardens and beauty would not dare wish this evil and pain on any of his sons and
Mm,
daughters. He is good. And I'm not shallow enough to believe that he is the cause of the pain. I'm going to blame the pain and the darkness and the abuse and the betrayal and the church hurt on the people that did it,
mm,
not the one who created me. What are
mhm,
you talking about? And I think it's just so easy to do that. It's easier to blame an unseen God than your baby daddy.
mm,
It's easier to blame an unseen God than the man or woman that birthed you. Okay? That's easy.
mhm,
But what's hard is saying, no, I'm going to sit in the pain that I've been so deeply hurt and betrayed by a human being that I did physical life with. And I'm going to believe that God can redeem even that. And that I'm going to run to an unseen God and I'm going to surrender to him and I'm going to trust that he's going to bring me through. That's hard, but that's a mature faith.
mhm.
And so I just don't even think for a second. I remember my counselor asking me this question. She was that same day, she was like, "Are you mad at God?" And I said, "No, no." I mean, this was like hours after I discovered all the things. No. I said, "I do think I'm a little disappointed though,
Mm,
because I trust in his plan. But just because I
mm,
trust God's plan doesn't mean I like it all the time.
yeah,
I'm just disappointed." I'm like, "Well, this really sucks."
yeah.
But I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at him.
And how great that we can be disappointed and he can handle that.
And he's like, "Come on, baby girl." I'm like, "Hey,
Yeah, yeah. How do you
that was
think you
really
got to
hard."
that space? So, like, so you have someone listening right now who maybe
Yep.
just found out the same thing you did, or maybe is going
Mm,
through a diagnosis, or, whatever. How do you get to a place like that where you're like, "No, I'm not mad at God. Like, I am
mm,
clinging to him. He's the only thing that I can cling to. He's the only thing I
mhm.
can believe in." And you've had some practice because trauma has
Yeah.
happened to you before. I think that helps.
Really
I
has.
honestly do think that helps, because it helps you now be able to be like, "Well, I got through that. I
Yeah.
can get through this." So,
Yeah.
how do we get to that place where our faith is so strong that no matter what happens to us, I have a bracelet that says,
Oh,
even if it
yeah.
all goes away, even if, am I to a
Yeah.
place with God that I can be so attached to
That's
him
good.
that he is that he's everything to me? How do we get there?
Yeah. I think the first thing is we have to be followers of God, not just fans.
Mm.
There was such, I mean, I got saved when I was 21, so I'm like fresh off the salvation bus, which is great. I love it. I love that I'm still a little rough around the edges because people are like, "Ooh, she's nuts." And God's still using her. Um, but for the first 4 years, I was like, "Ooh," I said yes to Jesus, getting into heaven. Hallelujah, salvation. Thank you, bye. But I was still twerking in the club on the weekends and getting high and all the things. I
Mm,
was still numbing out because I had so much trauma in my past that was unprocessed. I was truly a fan of God, not a follower.
mm,
Because Sundays I was worshiping and belting out every single worship song, and I still do, but Monday through Saturday was trash.
mm,
When I pursued God, when I went through my first divorce, and that was I mean, abusive, toxic, doors ripped off the hinges, holes punched in the walls, like it was not a good thing. When I started pursuing him, meeting with him,
Mm.
being intimate, being submitted and surrendered as a follower, then I got to see him. I got to see his face. There's a psalm, I think it's 24, man, I don't know. It's either Psalm 24:7 or Psalm 27:4. So we're just gonna keep it moving here. The psalmist writes, when evil comes against me, and when all my enemies around me and wars rage against me, they will stumble and fall. But when those things happen, so when darkness comes, there's only one thing that I deeply desire. It's to dwell in the house of the Lord and gaze on his beauty.
Mm.
You mean to tell me that when wars are raging against you and people coming after you, you're not asking for a machete? Okay? No. He's asking for presence, witness,
Yeah.
because that's what actually gets us through pain. And so when we get into the presence of God, like for real, not all the fluff, not posting all your Bible studies on Instagram and I'm in quiet time. No, like when you really pursue the
Yeah.
Lord, you'll see his face.
Yeah.
And when you see God's glory, holy goodness. I have a note in my phone that I started back in October called Kindness of God. And
Mm.
it's literally every single little God wink, everything. The
Yeah.
fact that I had two of my closest friends down the hallway when I got that news, the fact
Mm.
that I had counseling scheduled already, the fact that 2 hours after that, I got an email from my publisher that my kids' book's on a billboard in New York and me and my kids are
Mm.
flying out to go see it. Like
Mm.
the house that me and my kids lived in, all of these things, one thing after the other.
Yeah.
But you only experience those things when you are looking and
Yeah.
seeking the face of God.
Yep.
And boy, does he show up. Sweet daddy God Jesus. Mm,
I
mm, mm.
love that you wrote those down. I think sometimes in the
Yeah,
midst of the tragedy, you can only look at the big tragedy, and that
yeah,
becomes our
100%.
tunnel focus instead of looking at some of those things that he has ordained along the way to I just always call it like just the sweetness of him. Just like the
Yeah,
sweetness of like, "Hey, you're gonna be okay. Like
he's so kind.
here's why, and here's."
Mm,
And I think the thing that I wanna make sure people don't hear today is, like, Toni had a trauma
mm,
happen, and
yeah,
she's awesome in 3 months. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
hey,
no,
she's good to go, she's, doing all those things, whereas you
yeah,
are still processing
yeah,
the pain, and you're not able to you're not sharing all of those things, but that you are
yeah.
still processing, and it's a very, um, real thing.
Non-linear
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
Nonlinear. Yeah,
Well, I
talk
mean,
about that.
we've never arrived at all better. Like,
Yeah.
we just don't. Like, we live in a fallen, broken world. We will get triggered. These things, we're not in the business of erasing memories. I mean, gosh, I wish I had amnesia. Geez. Um, no, like what we're doing is we are creating capacity to hold what we've been through. And just the other day, what was that on Thursday? So it was last Thursday. I was filming a show with Our Daily Bread. The season one is already out. It's called Unshakable Moxie, and we interview women all over the world about like unshakable faith, and it's amazing. And we're sitting in Michigan, and we're on the beach, and we're filming, and this beautiful. I have a thing for sunsets and sunrises, but like I've never experienced a sunset as
Mm,
beautiful as this. And for them 7 minutes and 42 seconds that it took for that sun to go down, I wept
mm,
because all I could think about was the creator of the universe, the creator of this beautiful sunset that is I mean, it was so vibrant
mm,
and big and close, held me in my darkest moments.
mm,
Phys he's the Holy Spirit. I mean, there's so many times in my room, I could not get out of my bed, and I just leaned on a pillow and felt literally the physical presence of God,
mm,
that he's so big and massive and yet so intimate and
mm,
close. And I just wept, and I remember this is so childish, but I remember the sun, like, in its last little moments of going down, and I just started saying, "Don't go.
mm,
Don't go." Because I just don't want to live. I can't live a moment without him.
mm,
I really can't.
mhm.
and it's because it's still just devastating
Yeah.
what we've been through. Like, it just doesn't change. It doesn't
Mhm.
change that I'm in a new house that I don't wanna be in. I wanted to be in my forever house with my
Mhm.
husband.
Mhm.
Um, we loved our house and we loved our pool and, oh, all the things, and I had to leave that, and I'm still
Mm.
grieving that.
Mhm.
But what's better than that is the presence of God, and I'm just like, I don't know where I'd be, and I don't know where I'd go
Mm.
without his presence. So yeah, we're still freaking grieving, and I'm still talking about it. I made a post about the sunset. I was like, I cried for 7 minutes and 42 seconds, y'all. Like, I'm still grieving,
Yeah.
and we're people of grief.
Yeah.
We don't get rid of grief. I grieve that I almost dropped a cashew on my white shirt today. We are people of grief,
Yeah.
okay? We get sad about things all the time.
Things happen. I mean, traumas happen. I've been reading just a lot about just suffering, and I think when you grow
Yeah.
up and you haven't suffered and then something traumatic happens,
Oh, yeah.
holy cow, that's more my story of like,
Yeah.
"Whoa," like, everything was so great, like, I didn't really have a lot of resilience built up, and then I think when you get to the
100%.
place what you just said, I love what you just said, is like, I have to live every moment with him. And I think until we're at that place where like we can't do life unless
Mm.
we need him. I think a lot of times we go through life and we don't need him. We
Yeah,
need him for
that's
certain
good.
things, but not like
Yeah.
for life, not for every hour of the day. We don't need
Yeah.
him because we got our own
Yeah.
stuff. We got our own strength and our own whatever. But when you have no strength and he is
Yeah.
literally it yeah, that changes that
It
changes.
changes everything. Well, then you see Jesus.
Mhm.
It's like you now it's not only about a creator, it's about a savior.
Mm.
Like, and you get to see the totality of the Trinity when you're in pain because
Yeah.
then you're like, "Oh, this is why he died and resurrected."
Mm.
Got it. Because of sin. The
Yeah.
sin that we commit and the sin that has absolutely crushed us caused by other people.
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Oh, I get it now."
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
He
good.
suffered so that he'd be able to relate to the suffering I'm currently going through,
Mhm.
and that's different. That hits different.
Yeah.
It's presence.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
presence.
Witness. I've been reading a lot about
Witness.
witness, which I love.
Dr. Kurt Thompson.
Yeah, I love it.
Witness.
The witness.
Uh-huh.
Tell me a little bit, just kinda switching gears a little bit, about
Love
your
that.
new Unshakable Moxie. So, I love some of the episodes. I love the one with Joni Eareckson Tada, like,
Oh,
just so cool, and I bet it's tell me a little bit of how you're experiencing it now as you're kinda going through your own
yeah.
Moxie, your own being
Yeah,
brave, because I'm sure there are times where you don't even wanna show up that day, and yet you're
I do.
interviewing these women who have been through so much. So tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
that experience for you.
Yeah, back in it released in February, this 6-part docu-series where we get to go interview women like Johnny Erickson Tata, who was paralyzed from the neck down in a really horrific accident and now has one of the largest ministries, international
Mm,
ministries for disabled people. Dr. Bernice King, the youngest daughter
mm,
of Martin Luther King Jr., we all know what she went through.
yeah.
It's just so, I mean, one after the other, just resilient women. And, in January, the director called me because we were going through all the things, and I was going through this public divorce, and she was like, "Hey, I just wanna give you a heads up. Episode 1 is a lot about your story. It has your ex-husband in it, it has all the da da da, like, what we cannot put it out. We just want you to be okay."
Mhm.
And I said, "Julie," our director, I said, "I won't dare erase the past because I'm not trying to erase pain.
Mm,
I need a reference point for what God has brought me through.
that's good.
And I will not erase it. I'm not gonna do it."
Mm,
And so going back now and watching it, it's sad and it's beautiful
mm,
because I'm like, some of the questions we asked are the answers to them were literally like healing balm to me now.
mm.
And I didn't even know that as I was interviewing these women and traveling around the country, I would be I would need this. I would need the content
Yeah,
just as much as the people we're marketing it to.
right.
We're like, if you need unshakable faith, if you need grit, if you need resilience, I'm like, oh. All of the
So
above.
so when you recorded it, you were
Yeah.
not going through this. So
Oh my gosh, no. I was
you're like,
married. I was in my house that I
"Ugh,
loved so much. I'm watching episode 1 in the house that I painted my son's room. I did one of those
mm,
fancy light fixtures for the first time that you like switch out the regular thing and you put like the beautiful rattan, whatever it's called.
mm,
I mean, like my kids had signs on their, rooms that we got designed. I mean, all like I just had really made this sweet little house a home. And I'm having to watch episode 1 where my son, where we brought my son home
mm,
and it sucks
So
so
you're,
bad.
like, experiencing it how you want the audience to experience it.
So when I tell you it's good, it's because I'm receiving it
Yeah.
and you should as well
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and messy and good.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Who is it? Kate Bowler that talks about the what is her word? The beautiful, horrible life or whatever
Well, there you go, right
that
there.
she calls it, the beautiful, horrible, and how do we,
Yeah.
do that dichotomy?
Yeah.
Um, the merchandise I have been seeing on your store, why don't I have a hoodie is what I wanna know. Like,
Okay,
why
send me your address.
where is
Bye.
my
What color? What
where
size?
is my hoodie?
On the way.
That's what I
It's on
want.
the way.
So tell me when you made this, what the
Yeah.
stay brave, and then I love,
Oh, this
the
is fun.
scripture, with it. It's,
Yeah.
oh,
Remember where your help comes
yeah,
from.
yeah. Remember where your help come from. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about designing that and then what it means to you.
Yeah, talk about a God wink. I was designing it before I found out everything and started processing through divorce. And I released it as I was going through divorce. So
Mm,
publicly. And so I remember I done a photo shoot. I was like, oh, it's gonna be so cute. And then I was like, am I gonna be able to stay brave? Am
mm,
I gonna be able to persevere? And the yellow sweatshirt that we have is so soft.
mm,
I'm not gonna lie to you. I partnered with an incredible Christian-based, shop called Etch& and Co. These 2 incredible women, they're so great, and I don't know how they picked this fabric, but it is made of the wool of the one sheep that Jesus went after. I am convinced.
the one.
Bro, the yellow one. Now the green sweatshirt is stunning. It's a very beautiful color, but the yellow is, like, soft. When I tell you I slept in that thing for weeks,
Mm,
probably did not wash it as many times as I should've.
mm,
But I cried in the merchandise that I was
yeah,
presenting to the world,
yeah.
night after night after night, being comforted by my XL yellow Stay Brave sweatshirt. And it has been a beautiful and constant
Mm,
reminder that that's what it takes to endure this life.
yeah.
It's not perfection, it's surrender and the
Mhm,
bravery to be broken and in pain and grieved and crushed a little bit. And you get on the other side and you're like, "Man, I'm so glad I braved that.
mm,
I'm so glad I didn't just cower down and hide." And I invited my community in. I said some really hard things. I got accountability. I pleaded with God. I prayed some honest prayers. I
mm,
was brave. I'm
yeah,
being brave now talking about it, shoot.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so it's meant a lot to me and it's been really sweet. It's my first merch line too, so it just was sweet and precious.
That's fun. I
Yeah.
wonder yeah, I wonder when that all happened, like, in the what you just said is like, "Wait a second. Do I feel like this imposter that I'm putting out this stay brave, and yet how am I gonna do it?" And then you did.
Yep.
And then
And then I freaking
and then you did. You did. As we
mm,
kinda end our conversation,
yeah.
which I feel like we could talk over coffee all day long. Are you a coffee
Okay.
drinker? I don't even know that.
Oh, yes, I am.
Tell me
Now,
your what's
recently,
your coffee of
been in
choice?
well, it all depends. I have an amazing caramel latte that I usually get at this place called Spiller Park here in Atlanta. If that is not an option or if the caramel is nasty, I'm gonna go vanilla latte with oat milk, hot every time. I don't care if these pits are
Oh.
sweating and it is scorching outside. I
In
want a hot
Atlanta,
coffee.
in
I don't
the
want an iced
dead
coffee.
of July, you're gonna go hot.
I'm going hot every time, and I'm like, "Let's turn the AC on so we can enjoy this."
Wow, okay. I just started
That's
going
right.
cold recently because we live in Waco
I'm
and it's
trying, but I
1,000
can't. The
degrees.
flavors don't hit. It's
That's
like they're
true.
not melted in.
That's
It's I
true.
don't I'm tasting 2 different flavors. Now, recently, I've been into the English breakfast tea latte.
No. I feel like
I don't
that's
know, it's
not
weird for me.
are you in
It
England?
is
Are
not.
you I feel like you're
I don't
British.
know.
Like, that's
I
impressive.
am British.
Feels very proper.
Thanks. Thank you.
It's
I appreciate you see, I have an accent.
it
You're
feels
welcome.
very I might try
A
actually,
little tea.
this new hotel that we have here in Waco,
Okay, here we
Hotel
go.
1928. When you come to Waco, you're going to come here. It's so
Ready.
beautiful.
Been ready.
Joanna Gaines, of course, she has her stamp on everything, so she redid it. And they have this like English lavender latte, like that.
I'm telling you.
I'm like, I just
I'm
don't
telling you.
know. Okay, I'm gonna try it. I'm
It
gonna
is
send you a
weird.
picture.
It's a weird taste, but I've been recently addicted. It's weird.
Okay, I feel sold on that,
Send me
and
a pic
I'm gonna
and
send
your
you.
address and your sweatshirt
I'm gonna
size.
say, oh yes, I'm gonna send you that too. I'm gonna send you that because I
I'm
love a
gonna
good
send
a
you.
good hoodie. Ugh, I
That's
love a
what I'm
good hoodie.
saying. That's what I'm
Um,
saying.
okay, so for someone listening who's like, I love this conversation. She sounds so upbeat. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be that
Yeah.
upbeat again because my life
Good.
totally sucks.
Yeah.
What would you say to that woman or man that just had
Mm,
their world ripped out, just ripped apart? What would you
yeah.
say to them to keep them going?
Yeah. There
What
were
would you have
3
wanted
in
someone to say to you?
yeah. There are 3 instances in the Bible where we clearly see Jesus in this same position. The death of Lazarus, he was deeply grieved. The Garden of Gethsemane, he was so grieved that that sucker was sweating blood. Now,
Mm.
I almost do that at burn boot camp.
Mm.
I didn't came close. And on the cross, when he
Mm,
cried out and said, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani.
mm,
My God, why have you forsaken me? In my moments of deep disappointment that this was a part of my story, I just kept thinking, if Jesus, the Holy of Holies, the Messiah, could sit in grief multiple times, I can too. And it's not a problem. Yeah, sure, joy will come in the morning, but our grief is holy and our tears are stunning.
mm,
And I think that society has not given us a good framework for grief. They just haven't. It's bad, it's yucky, it's hucky, it's painful. It's
mhm,
man, grief is beautiful.
mm.
It births so much.
Yeah.
It births vulnerability, connection.
Mhm.
When you're grieving, I mean, man, as hard as a
Empathy.
funeral is, come on, as hard as a funeral is, all your people are together,
Mhm,
being there for you, consoling you, wiping your tears. As hard as it is to lose a marriage, seeing that I've got people in my life who are willing to
mm,
father my son, move me and my kids into a new house, build my daughter's bed,
mm.
buy me a rug that was so freaking cute. Like, yes, grief is hard,
Mhm,
and we don't have to get to some other side quickly. I say to my girls, like in my course groups and the things that I get to do with healing, I'm like, we're gonna be with you in the valleys. We won't leave you there.
mm.
Let your people pull you out when you're ready.
Yeah,
But grieve, man.
yeah.
Grieve well.
That's good.
So
That's
yeah.
great. Thanks for leaving it with us with that. I want you to look at my sign that's behind me because I wanna make sure our listeners, if they're
She
watching or
knew.
see it, she knew she was formed by God's hands, dreamed up in his heart, and placed in this world for a purpose. That has been
Mm,
in my daughter's room since she was a baby. She's now 12 years old. But sometimes I just come and look at it and I'm like, high five, I got this. So you're living that purpose. I love that so much. I know
mm.
it's hard. I know not every day you want to be talking on a podcast and doing on Instagram. And some days you probably do want to be like, peace out. Like, I don't need to do
Bye.
this.
Take me to Mexico.
Yes, yes, bye.
Ah,
But I just wanna thank you for doing it, and
mm,
thank you for using your pain,
yeah,
to have purpose for others and to be a testimony for others. So, thank you, girl. I'll be praying
thank
for
you.
you for your strength, for God's strength in you.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm excited for people to get your merch because I can't wait for that. Stay brave and to watch Unshakable
I'm a
Moxie and then
champion.
to check out your podcast. You've had your podcast for quite a
Oh,
while.
snap. The Still Coloring podcast is back, baby. Took a break from that as well. And now we're in season 6, and I am unpacking episode by episode this last season that I've been through. And just get your tissues, is
Mm,
all I'm gonna say.
mm.
So
Well, thanks for doing that. I'll put
yeah,
everything in the show notes because
thank
you got
you.
lots of stuff, books and kids' books and all the fun things.
Yeah.
But more than that, just who you are. I just appreciate who you are, even if you didn't do any of it. Just appreciate who you are, Tony. So thanks so much for being on. Appreciate you. And, I always love having you.